Live from Lakewood, Colorado, broadcasting from the Colorado Media School studios, it's Sports with Staxxx and Shaggy.
Andrews on the 3rd and 10. Here comes pressure, and they've gotten to him. The ball is out in the end zone, and it's recovered by Malik Jackson for the touchdown. It was Vaughn Miller with the strip sack, and Jackson with the recovery.
No, he missed it. Jokic, long pass. Harris has it, and he puts it away. Oh, what a pass. Peyton Manning again smiling.
The countdown. Cleared up. Out of the zone. The Colorado Avalanche have won the Stanley Cup. Raymond Moore, a dream has come true.
And welcome in to Sports with Staxxx and Shaggy, a part of the GoMileHigh.com and a part of the Be On Air network. You can find us on Facebook at Go Mile High, or you can find us on the internet at GoMileHigh.com, or you could check us out at Twitter at GoMileHigh.com or at Go Mile High, or you can find myself Shaggy at Jake Shadler on Twitter, or you could find my man Staxxx at what's your @ symbol?
It's at Amato _ is ballin', AMADO _ ISBALLIN.
All right. After we got into our little bit of an intro, had to shout ourselves out right there. Let's get into sports because that's why the people are here.
Yes, sir.
So today we got a little bit of breaking news, and it's relating to the Nuggets, and it is Nikola Jokic is back in the NBA bubble, and he is actually back in Orlando actually with the team now. The only players that are not with the team are Torrey Craig, MPJ, Monte Morris, and as well as Gary Harris. They have not arrived to the bubble yet. So it is good to see some good Nuggets news after, a couple weeks of, uncertainty knowing if our centerpiece is going to be there. So
It's great news. I mean, those other names you mentioned are for sure big factors, but getting Nikola Jokic is the biggest piece out of everything. You could get those guys back without getting Jokic back, and you're not going to find yourself in contention. You could get Jokic back without getting MPJ, Gary Harris, and Torrey Craig back, and you're still going to be able to contend for a title.
No, seriously. I mean, this is our main centerpiece. I mean, no other center in the NBA is averaging 7 assists a game. I mean, this is our quarterback, per se, of, our basketball team.
He's a point center. Everyone says a point forward, all that, but he's a point center. Name another team in the league, that lets their big man carry the ball up full court. It's an anomaly somewhat.
No, seriously. And his passes, I mean, there's a reason every intro I have at least one Joker pass. I mean, he is a quarterback, playing center. He literally has quarterback, yeah. So, but, talking about Joker, I want to get into a little bit more of his weight. And we were talking about it a little bit before, and, how him being down there and how his slimming down and how let's say he was the heaviest player this offseason with Zion, and now he's cut 40 pounds, and since then he's looked slim, and we got Slim Joker. And I just want to know, how's that going to affect his game? And personally, I think it's going to help his defensive game. I mean, we already know what a force he was on the offensive side and slamming his body into, or slamming his his weight into people and, using his size for an advantage. But I want to see what it's going to, do on his defensive end and his, guarding on the post and as well as on the transition, because he really, struggles with that.
He can definitely improve his perimeter defense, with losing all that weight, improving his lateral quickness. The only concerning question mark I have, and I think a lot of people do, is his post game on both sides of the floor, because Jokic is known to be banging down low with the bigs. Now losing all that weight, is he going to be exposed? Is he going to have to be more crafty? Now, thank God he's a wonderful playmaker and a facilitator, because he does have that crafty playmaking in his arsenal. Just with him losing all that weight, is that going to have to make himself adjust to his play style for sure?
Yeah, I don't see it really hindering him. And I know yesterday we talked about, Nikola being a top 5 player. And, we did the Bleacher Report list, and he actually had him at number 6. So, I mean, I could really see a scenario with him playing, good under his slim body and one of those top players not playing so well. I mean, we all both, we're not high on James Harden. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind moving him out. I mean, all the other ones in the top 5, I really can't see moving out. But, I mean, I can move out James Harden to put in Joker in there.
James Harden has gotten a lot of love. I mean, and a lot of hate. But the love comes from him putting up big assist numbers. Everyone thinks he's all of a sudden a crazy facilitator, which he is somewhat of a playmaker. But a lot of that has to do with Mike D'Antoni. Since Mike D'Antoni has came, James Harden has averaged back-to-back double figures in assists per game. And you look at the Mike D'Antoni effect, when he coached Steve Nash, he turned Steve Nash into a
MVP.
A back-to-back MVP, a guy who before that 04-05 season wasn't even a top 5 point guard going into that year. You saw Linsanity. That was mainly part because of Mike D'Antoni was the coach.
Linsanity. You had to bring up Linsanity.
Mike D'Antoni's system is solely for the point guard to thrive through, traditional point guard, to have like that kind of that triple threat, shoot, pass, and dribble all at the same time.
Oh, he definitely dribbles, and he definitely likes to travel.
Yeah, I don't know if he dribbles a whole lot.
But, us talking about the Nuggets, I mean, it really, brings up a lot of questions, with us having our star player back. We got the release of the last 8 games, and, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's no argument here. We probably have the hardest schedule out of all the games. I mean, if you look at our schedule, I mean, we got Miami, both LA teams, you got Utah in there, you got Toronto in there. You got some pretty hard teams for our last 8 games. So it's, it just makes you wonder, and it makes you, me wonder, how are the Nuggets going to do in these last 8 games? Are we going to be able to get our chemistry back? And not only are we going to be able to get our chemistry back, but if we do well in these 8 games, is they going to give us a little bit of battle test?
It's the same with each team, though. Each team needs to get their chemistry back. So you got that plus part in the department that you're not alone. You're not the only one in the boat to where, you're not the only team that hasn't played with each other. Every squad has to get that chemistry back, as you were saying. And so I think, with that harder schedule is definitely going to get Denver to hit the ground running come playoff time. And I'm real confident because, Denver throughout the year has played phenomenal against powerhouse sort of teams before the lockdown. You saw they beat Milwaukee in Milwaukee. They beat L.A. Yes, they beat a shorthanded L.A., but the other game they played LA, it was a dogfight. If they're gonna lose to these good teams, they're not gonna lose by a big margin. I don't think it's always gonna be a close game.
That's always my problem with we always play down to our opponent. I feel like we play these games where we'll play against Milwaukee and 7 players average over 10 points, but then we'll play games where we're playing against Golden State and not one player can make a 3, and we're letting nobody G League players go out there and make these incredible shots and turning them into star players.
With the NBA, it's kind of like the MLB. Just the season's so long. There's those nights where you underestimate the obviously weaker opponent. So you're not going in against a below 500 team thinking that, there's still professionals on the team. You got to play a professional team like they're a professional team, no matter if they're 0-82 or 82-0. So either or, I think that's just the stigma that surrounds a lot of teams, not just the Nuggets.
So I pulled up the Nuggets 8 games, and it's going to be Miami for the first game, Oklahoma Thunder for the second game, San Antonio for the third game, Portland for the fourth game, Utah for the fifth, Lakers for the sixth, Clippers for the seventh, and Raptors for the eighth. And what team on there every team on there is a hard challenge. And even then, the teams that you would think that aren't, Portland and San Antonio, we still played in the playoffs last year.
That's probably the one I'm really excited about. That's very underrated. Of course, everyone's going to be looking forward to the LA games.
I'm looking forward to that Miami game.
Yeah, the Miami against the reigning champs, the Raptors. But you got to remember the Portland Trailblazers eliminated you from the playoffs last year, and now they got a healthy use of Nurkic. So now you have the guy who you traded for, Mason Plumlee, a couple years back, competing against him in his 8-game stretch of what can decide playoff positioning for what looks like to be an up for grabs championship.
Yeah, seriously. And it's, it brings into okay, if a team does win this championship and they go far, I mean, we already have these players getting sick with coronavirus with Russell Westbrook and such. Is it almost like put an asterisk around the team championship? Or does it almost like put, how do I say this? Does it almost, 10 to 15 years when we're looking down the line at these championships and we look at the COVID Cup, as I want to call it, for basketball, are we going to say that this championship, isn't living up to the others? I mean, because, you won it in spite of COVID. You really didn't win it your own way.
Yeah, for sure. And if you see more superstars like Russell Westbrook, and right now is the time period for these guys to catch it because they still have a chance to come back and get the quarantine period and be back with the team in time for when the regular season / tournament starts. My concern is when guys start testing positive in the middle of the tournament. What's that going to do for teams who have a playoff run?
No, it's curious. And we were talking about this on the press box today, and I asked Wes the question. I was saying, as a Nuggets fan, do you almost want to see the Nuggets be one and done? Because, I understand you want to see your team win a championship, but let's say we get to the conference finals or we get to the NBA finals and one of our players goes down, like Joker goes down or Jamal Murray goes down or someone goes down. Do you really want to see that happening? That's risking into next season, and I'm thinking next season. I'm not trying to think about this season. I'm trying to think health, for next season, because we're almost kicking right off into the next season. But we're going to catch a real quick break. We're going to be talking about NFL contracts in the next segment. We will be right back with Sports with Staxxx and Shaggy.
Live from Lakewood, Colorado.
Hey Colorado sports fans, you're listening to GoMileHigh.com, a student-operated station live from the Colorado Media School studios here in Belmar, giving you a different perspective on all things current.
Stop torturing yourself, man! Live in the now!
So stay tuned to see what's coming up next on GoMileHigh.com, Colorado's sports lifestyle.
Showing!
Every day, across this country, hundreds of college radio stations take to the air, broadcasting music and programming that you won't hear anywhere else.
It's one of the last places where people can really be able to actually say what they want to say.
Without it, you wouldn't have a place for local artists to perform. Certain people need to have a chance, a fighting chance, and college radio is that place for it.
College radio changes the lives of those who are involved with it and can change those who listen to it too.
This is where we start out, from getting all this great experience working in college radio. It makes you want to work in real radio.
College radio means finding yourself. It helped me find what I wanted to do in not only school but in life.
So support college radio by continuing to listen to this station and supporting the students who make it happen. College radio, now, more than ever. A message brought to you by this station and the College Radio Foundation. For more information, please visit collegeradio.org.
I'm taking a trip over to Tibet, see the sights, climb a hill or two. But I remember, oh man, I got one guy out here who I actually know. So I give an old ringy-dingy to the Lama.
What?
The Dalai Lama, his laminescence, flowing robes, the grace, bald, striking really. I says to the Lama, hey, you remember that round I caddied for you down in Shangri-La? Well, apparently some station out in Lakewood taped the whole thing. See, the Lama's a big hitter. Nailed 2 eagles in a row that day. Well, he says, what station could have possibly gotten all the way out to my sacred holy lands, the Shangri? I says it was none other than GoMileHigh.com, Lama. They got the best sports coverage in the state. The Lama actually tips me this time, 2-1. So he pretty much stiffed me again. But I got him hooked on GoMileHigh.com. So I got that going for me, which is nice.
That's great.
GoMileHigh.com.
And welcome back to Sports with Staxxx and Shaggy. How you doing, Staxxx? I don't think I got to ask you in the first segment. How you doing, my man?
Oh, always doing great. You know what it is.
I know we always have a good time down here at the Colorado Media School down in Lakewood. So right now we're going to get into contracts, and we're going to be getting, I mean, that seems like this whole offseason we've been getting into these crazy contracts with all these players getting paid a substantial amount of money. But we're going to be getting into two defensive players, and one of them, actually, the Broncos has to play twice a year, and the other one is famous for a helmet being thrown onto a head. I think that already threw that one out. But the first one is Chris Jones, and he's going to get paid 4 years, $85 million with $60 million guaranteed. And this is, I believe, the seventh best contract. And then Myles Garrett gets paid 7 years, $144 million, which I couldn't find the guarantees yet. All these sites were giving me different information on the contract. It was the same thing with the Mahomes one. I still feel like they're finalizing the deal and trying to figure out what they want to do. These numbers change, I feel like, as they go on, and their agents try to make money, lose money for it. It just, yeah.
So Myles Garrett becoming the highest paid non-quarterback, and he walked into, I think he had like 2 years left on his rookie contract, still from the 2017 season. And the big question mark is he worth that money?
Yeah, so we actually pulled up the stats from 2017 with the top 10 sack leaders. Well, top 11, because Myles Garrett is on the outside looking in at 11 with 30.5. But he is 18.5 sacks behind the number one guy. I mean, it goes Chandler Jones at number 1 with 49. You have Aaron Donald at number 2 with 44. You have Cam Jordan at number 3 with 40.5. You have Danielle Hunter at 4 with 36. You have TJ Watt at 5 with 34.5. You have 6 Von Miller with 32.5. You have 7 Calais Campbell with 31.5. And then 8 and 9 are Ryan Kerrigan and Khalil Mack, who also have 31.5. And then Chris Jones at number 10, who also got paid today, so that understands, top 10 player in sacks the last couple of years at 31 sacks. And again, like I said earlier, Myles Garrett at 30.5.
And that should be a little higher if he didn't get suspended, because he had 10 sacks in 10 games last year. He was on pace to having a phenomenal season until the suspension, obviously the altercation with Mason Rudolph.
So let's say, since he averaged a sack a game, we'll give him a sack a game for the rest of the year. He gets 16 sacks, right? So if we put him at that, he has 36.5 sacks. That's at number 4 then. That's right where Danielle Hunter is. That puts him in the top 5.
And it just shows you how kind of close that race is. A lot of teams are passing a lot more nowadays, so it puts pass rushers into position to be able to hit the quarterback more often, or at least collect up on that, that part in the box score, the sacks. So, definitely a lot more sacks I could see, today than there was, per se, 20, 30 years ago.
No, seriously. I mean, the sacks numbers, if you really looked at them, like all these people that have been on the sack leaders, they've been over the last couple, 20 years. And in the last 20 years, the passing game has evolved between Michael Strahan, Jared Allen. You had Brian, you had Justin Smith. You had, who was that Bronco that used to play here? Elvis Dumerville. He had 18 one year. You have
Jared Allen.
Yeah, Jared Allen too. Yeah. You have all these crazy players that have, all these,
Vic Beasley
with 15. Yeah, seriously. So, I mean, it's, there's no surprise. I mean, it's going to be the same way with, if you were running the ball more, there's probably going to be a lot more tackle numbers, and there's going to probably be a lot more fumble numbers. Those numbers are going to go up. I don't really see a surprise in that. It's, it's the way the NFL is evolving. The NFL is evolving towards that passing league, and it's so, it's just,
As I said, it opens up the opportunity for the defense, for the pass rushers to get to the quarterback instead of playing against the offense that's running the ball. They're going against much more pass-heavy offenses. You look at the Chiefs, and there's obviously now going to be more pass-heavy offenses who are going to want to emulate that style that got the Chiefs to their championship.
I mean, if you think about it also, I mean, a defensive end / pass rusher, that's like the third most important position on your team, because it first goes quarterback, someone to protect your quarterback, your left tackle, and then you want someone to go get the other person's quarterback, which is, a pass rusher.
In your opinion, what do you think is the hardest position in the, like kind of once in a generational talent, you know what I mean, to find in the draft?
Like, what do you mean?
Like, what is the hardest skill? Like, positional, like you can find a quarterback or a running back every other.
Like, what's the hardest position to determine from college to the NFL?
No. Just like, what is the hardest position to come by? year after year. You know, it's easy to come by running backs.
Well, I feel like that's a draft to draft. I mean, honestly, because like some drafts are running back heavy, some drafts are receiver heavy. Like this draft had the most receivers drafted in the whole draft. I think there was 36 receivers drafted this year.
What position would you value the most when you get if you get a star cornerback?
Oh, well, obviously you first want to start building around your quarterback. I mean, you start, first and foremost, you start with your quarterback. I feel like that's the most important position always.
No, I said corner. I feel like the cornerback is one of the hardest positions to come across. When it talks about once in a generational talent. When you think about Stephon Gilmore and those guys who can lock down a whole side of the field. That's why I think Chris Harris was so valuable for the Broncos until obviously now when he deteriorated. They're just guys who, as I said, with the running back, you find those guys in every other draft. You can replace those guys that are expendable. I don't think the cornerback position or the defensive back position is expendable.
And shout out to Chris Harris coming out and drafted out of Kansas. That was awesome.
Yeah, and it's funny. John Elway gets a lot of hate for his first round picks. Hey, be quiet, Siri. Hey, John Elway gets a lot of hate for his first-round picks, but he has a lot of great undrafted rookies that he's brought in. You see, you just said Chris Harris Jr., Phillip Lindsay. You see Siri's over here going nuts, bro.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie also. John Elway's have a very good job of drafting defensive players, but, I mean, that's kind of the way it goes. I mean, cornerbacks make good receiver coaches, and good receiver coaches make good receivers make good cornerback coaches. Because when you're going against something your whole entire life, you learn what their tendencies are.
And talking about defensive backs, Justin Simmons, you want to bring this all together with the contracts.
Yeah, so Justin Simmons actually is looking to sign his contract, and the deadline for that is actually tomorrow. So, and I don't have the exact numbers that he is looking for. I'll have to pull that up right now, but it doesn't look like it's looking like he's going to be signing with the Broncos anytime soon. So you see a situation where he could be holding out, honestly?
Oh, for sure. If he don't get the money that he wants, he's seen all these other guys get paid, yet these are pass rushers. These are front seven kind of guys. Who's the highest safety in the league? We gotta look that up during the break. The highest paid safety.
So I just pulled it up right here that actually Justin Simmons actually just now signed the franchise tag, and that was at 5 o'clock today. So we were a little behind because of our other shows, but it doesn't appear that he's going to be getting a long-term deal, but he will be getting a franchise tag, and that will be $11.44 million this season if the sides don't get something done within the next 24 hours. So that's, I mean, yeah. He's a top 5 safety in the league. I mean, I don't know why the Broncos aren't going to pay him, honestly. I don't know how the Broncos can't pay a top 5 safety. I mean, if you look at it, it's Derwin James, Jamal Adams, you have Devin McCourty, and you have him. I mean, those are the top safeties in the league, honestly.
Devin McCourty's a little washed. He's 30, 31.
He's more of a – okay, I'll give you this. He's more of a coverage safety.
He's more of like an all-around defensive back. Because you could probably play Devin McCourty at a corner if you wanted to.
Yeah, he actually played corner in college, out of Rutgers.
I feel he's just – Devin McCourty's McCourty. How do you say his name?
Devin McCourty.
Oh, so I was saying it right.
Yes.
No, he's more of an all-around kind of football guy. You could probably put him anywhere. Not a hybrid.
He's
safety.
not
more of a coverage.
He's a straight coverage. He's more of like a deep. He's more of a zone safety, but he could still play man. Except for you're going to want to put him against your slot receiver. He's not going to be manning up a tight end or number 1 or 2.
I don't like a lot of things about the Patriots, but what I did like is that they teamed up the twins and the defensive back. That was kind of awesome. I thought that was dope.
You know what's awesome about that? Jason McCourty had never made a playoff game or never even played in a playoff game up until that moment. Goes to the Super Bowl and wins a Super Bowl the first time ever, playing in the playoffs with his brother.
He go back to back, right?
Back to back to the playoffs because they went 2018 and 2019.
Oh, okay.
Well, they didn't go back to back. No. So 2017 they lost to the Eagles, and in 2018 they won the Rams.
I thought they were both a part of that Falcons comeback.
No. So the Falcons won. No, we actually had Logan Ryan.
Oh, we.
So the Patriots had Logan Ryan. They had Malcolm Butler. They had Eric Rowe. Those were the corners back then. So. Right. And it's crazy that none of those corners even play on the same team. Actually, they do play on the same team now. They all play on the Titans now. Logan Ryan and Malcolm Butler.
You put McCourty still up, though, as a top 5, top 10 safety in the league. What was your list you were listing?
I had Derwin James, Jamal Adams, Devin McCourty, and Justin Simmons. I mean, not in any order, but if I was going to put in order, I definitely would put Derwin at number 1.
Derwin.
Yeah. I feel like he's the most versatile safety in the NFL. I mean, you could literally put him at linebacker almost.
Jamal Adams is the hard hitter.
Derwin can hit too.
Justin Simmons is you don't expect him to pack a punch because he looks so scrawny, But man, he'll pop you.
Yeah, he can lay the hit too. He can lay the hit too.
Yeah, bro. I'm trying to think of
I don't really put Earl Thomas. I mean, Earl Thomas used to be good for.
I put Tyrann Mathieu over McCourty.
Oh. Well, I'll put him in now. I mean, but still, McCourty, I feel like I could put McCourty above Earl Thomas now because I feel like Earl Thomas is kind of washed.
I mean, he did have an X factor in Madden.
Yeah, he had an X factor in Madden. I mean, you and me could have an X factor in Madden.
Oh, no.
I mean, Dan already has one. I mean, Dan's like an 88 in Madden, isn't he?
No, more like a 65.
65.
McCourty, I couldn't see McCourty in top 5. I'm trying to find.
I think he's throwing up the 9-9. I think he's a 9-9.
That looks like more like a. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what it is. It looks like he's missing a chromosome or something, man. He's just over there.
We can't talk so much crap. I mean, it is our producer. He could just, click.
Oh, hey. No, McCourty though, top 5. It's debatable for sure. Earl Thomas, I don't know if you'd say he's washed, but McCourty's not my top 5. I wouldn't put him.
So who would you put in your top 5 safeties right now? Then
I'd put Jamal Adams as number 1. No, yeah, Jamal Adams, Justin Simmons. I gotta be biased, of course. Derwin James. Man, and then it gets harder because I'm trying to think of actually good safeties, man.
I mean, you put Tyrann Mathieu at number 4. You could put him at number 4.
But I don't even know if Tyrann Mathieu is the top 5.
I mean, that safety out of Houston's pretty good too. Justin Reed, he's pretty good.
Justin Reed,
he's pretty good.
Yeah, I'll probably put Tyrann Mathieu there, man.
I mean, you could even put Kevin Byard out of Tennessee. He's pretty good too, but. He had that 8 interceptions in 2017, I believe. He led the league in interceptions.
You know who was nice, and I think it might have been LaMarcus Joyner was the rookie coming out of Oakland. I don't like to shout out to no, he wasn't a rookie.
That was Jonathan Abraham.
Jonathan Abraham.
Yeah, and he had that first good game against the Broncos, and then after that, he got hurt. I think he got hurt the second game of the season, I believe. Yeah, I believe so.
He had a lot of potential to it, man. Hopefully, and I'm not trying to shout out any Raiders, but he does seem like an exciting young talent.
Him and Max Crosby, honestly. I mean, the Raiders, honestly, Mike Mayock's honestly a decent GM, but they're building something in Oakland, honestly. So that AFC West is a pretty stacked division, but we're going to get right back into a commercial break. You can hear us in 3 minutes on GoMileHigh.com. This is Sports with Staxxx and Shaggy.
If you have ever dreamed about being on TV or the radio, listen up. Start your broadcasting career today at the Colorado Media School. You'll have the opportunity to work with and learn from actual on-air talent that work within the Colorado media. Within a few months, you'll know how to engineer, produce, and even host your own TV/radio show. I'm a current graduate, and let me tell you, the Colorado Media School has given me opportunities and internships that have helped me take my career to the next level. So apply today at the Colorado Media School, located at 404 South Upham Street in Lakewood, or visit us at coloradomediaschool.org.
Hey Colorado sports fans, you're listening to GoMileHigh.com, a student-operated station live from the Colorado Media School studios here in Belmar, giving you a different perspective on all things current.
Stop torturing yourself, man. Live in the now.
So stay tuned to see what's coming up next on GoMileHigh.com, Colorado's sports lifestyle.
Showing.
Every day, across this country, hundreds of college radio stations take to the air, broadcasting music and programming that you won't hear anywhere else.
It's one of the last places where people can really be able to actually say what they want to say.
Without it, you wouldn't have a place for local artists to perform. Certain people need to have a chance, a fighting chance, and college radio is that place for it.
College radio changes the lives of those who are involved with it and can change those who listen to it too.
This is where we start out, from getting all this great experience working in college radio. It makes you want to work in real radio.
College radio means finding yourself. It helped me find what I wanted to do in not only school but in life.
So support college radio by continuing to listen to this station and supporting the students who make it happen. College radio, now, more than ever. A message brought to you by this station and the College Radio Foundation. For more information, please visit collegeradio.org.
And welcome back into Sports with Staxxx and Shaggy. We're going to get into a little bit of like a topic, a little bit of a tripod topic. We got a little bit of everything to talk about here. We'll touch on a little bit of NHL, MLB, and NFL. But first, I wanted to report that the Avs are reporting to training camp that got posted yesterday. So we're finally going to get some Colorado Avalanche hockey, and that's exciting. I mean, just seeing anything, sports at this point. I mean, we've been all loving UFC. I'm kind of getting sick of this ping pong and this cornholing on ESPN and the racing. I really don't want to see that. I really would rather see some hockey. I'd rather see some, basketball. I want to see something like that. I want to see ping pong. So, what's your thoughts on that, Amato? So, all right. Amato's having some technical difficulties, but, I just, I don't know.
I hear my name called. What was it?
So I just have to think, what do you think about, how do you think that this break is going to affect the Avs, and how well do you think they're going to do in their return?
Well, I was watching a video earlier today with Nate McKinnon, and he was saying, he's excited for the challenge, and he's very confident, they can get it done. It's the same with the NBA. These are guys who, each team hasn't, seen action for the last couple of months. So, it's the same chance I feel for each team to win the championship. In the Avs, you already know how dominant they were in the season. Even banged up, even short man, they were still able to get, win some pretty big games without their star players. So it's definitely going to be fun. And I would say disappointing to see the Avs, lose in an early round matchup with consistent with the roster that
especially
they have.
The way that they finished last year. I mean, going to Game 7 against San Jose. I mean, come on,
So that's why I'm pretty high on them. I'm pretty sure the state of Colorado is high on them to at least make a late playoff run.
I know my dad's high on them.
A Western Conference appearance at the least. I know there's big expectations for even a Stanley Cup. So, it's something to look forward to, because with the Avs and the Nuggets, those are the two teams in Denver sports, Colorado sports, that right now are the winners. Broncos are still question marks. Rockies are another Rockies. So
yeah, Rocktober, man,
yeah.
right? Rocktober.
But yeah, man, they're just one of those teams like the Nuggets that you have to be excited for because they're actually good in Colorado.
So, I mean, do you really see them making a run at the Stanley Cup this year? Or, I mean, are they just going to choke? I mean, because, they've been really notorious the last couple of years for choking in the playoffs in these big games. So
it all has to do with man.
It all has to do with some player getting COVID and us getting lucky. So, but I don't know. I really could see it happening. But if I was going to put my money on either the Nuggets or I was going to put my money on the Avs, I'm putting my money on the Nuggets, honestly, winning the championship. We got the two juggernauts in the West and LA and the Clippers and the Lakers, but I really don't see any other team really making a threat at us. I mean, I don't really get a big threat from Houston. I don't really feel like the Jazz is a big threat. I mean, I could see them, making us, an interesting series, but
the Jazz is the team I'm least worried about. There's so much dysfunction in that locker room right now. Like, everyone hates Rudy Gobert. Even his own teammates hate Rudy Gobert right now.
You gave us the Rona.
Before, Rudy Gobert was the main culprit of getting everyone sick. I was intimidated by the Jazz. Right now, I could care less about them. They don't put no fear into me.
Yeah, they don't either. I mean, the Rockets don't put any fear in me either. They have no one above them that no
you
one.
Said the Rockets?
Yeah, the Rockets don't.
I feel you on that. They don't have a traditional big man. They have PJ Tucker playing.
Okay, let me say this actually. I take back what I said about the LA teams. I feel like there's one team that I feel like could give us a really run for our money. That's OKC. They were playing pretty well at the end of it.
I feel like OKC is just that slept-on team that's led by Chris Paul, a guy who wants to win a ring, but in hindsight, probably never ever will end up getting that ring. I don't know. They're a team who could definitely sneak up on you somewhat like the we believe 07 Golden State Warriors, where they'll get a surprise win on a higher seed, but them being a threat or a contender, I doubt that.
Yeah, and I mean, even then, I look at Memphis. Memphis is going to get knocked out in the first round. I mean, they're going to get swept in the first round by the Lakers.
Well, they're those lower seeds, so the playoff seedings aren't even like officially decided. So Memphis doesn't have their 8th seed locked in. They could have that taken away from a team like New Orleans.
But do you really see New Orleans or Portland doing that? I mean,
I could for sure. I mean, come on, man, they're all in the same position right now.
But Portland's
it's gonna be coming down to about experience in an 8-game span. Who would you put your money on to make a playoff run?
So at that point, it's going to be who do you put your money on, Zion, or you put your money on John Morant?
Would you put your money on a Damian Lillard team or a John Morant team to make the playoffs? I'm going with experience.
Yeah, but you really think John Morant's going to lose those last 8 games? Because they would have
still a rookie. There's a lot to play for, and him and Zion haven't really had welcome to your NBA moment.
Well, they were about to get him until the coronavirus shut it down. They were about to get him those next couple months.
In this tournament, it's going to be very competitive, and they will give those moments. Welcome to your NBA moment, that Kodak moment.
No, it's true. So we're going to transition into a little bit of Rockies, and a Rockies article came out on CBS this morning by Dane Perry, and it's kind of like, Rockies schedule, rosters for the MLB restart, just things to know about the game. And they have the over-under for the Rockies at 25 wins to 35 losses. And I thought it'd be, nice if we could, do our over-unders. Do you really, what's your over-under on 30 wins? I put us under 30 wins.
Under 30 wins. I'm going to be generous. I'm going to say over by 2 games, 32 and 28.
32 and 28.
It's been like a historic thing with the Rockies in years past, not of recent history, but like back in the early 2000s and 2010s and mid 2010s, where they would start 30 games phenomenally, and then they would just fall apart. So I have them as if it was one of those years is where they start off good and then they fall apart. The All-Star break, just minus the All-Star break.
Yeah, it's interesting, because the Rockies have those times where they'll have periods where they do really good in stretches, and then they pull off really bad stretches. And this 60-game playoffs, I mean, I keep hearing Andrew Detmer talking about it. Shout out to him.
They don't got to play in July this year. Like they have a week in July. July last year was like their worst record. Their month, their record for a month. They went 6-19, so they could avoid that. I don't know if you're very superstitious, but I am, and I'm trying to avoid that July cold streak. It's supposed to be hot in July.
July cold streak.
Rockies was cold, man.
I mean, yeah. So I mean, Andrew was saying earlier, and I'll tie it into that. It could be anyone's game. I mean, with 60 games, anyone can get hot. I mean, think about it. If you're playing a stretch of games against a team and you get really hot for that week and you win 7 straight games, that's gonna put a huge separation between you and the next team. That's gonna, really do with because 7 games in a 60-game season compared to a 160-game season, that does so much more, to your your schedule. I mean, to your schedule, to your standings.
And I think the Rockies, they need to have a decent season. This is an opportunity for them to turn around with all the turmoil that went on in the offseason with the Nolan Arenado and the terrible management that was going on with all that. If they can, this is an opportunity for them to turn around that narrative and actually make them back into a winning conversation. And that's kind of funny to say, but it can kind of at least be a little bit more, I'd say, more on the positive side, considering the fact of everything that has gone within this organization that has been bad for the last 5 months.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm glad that you brought up Nolan Arenado, but I mean, we were talking again before the show. What are we gonna do? Is this gonna be his last, his last season as the Rockies, player?
As I said, this is an opportunity to at least be good and make a run, maybe turn around what people think you're gonna be. And if they have at least somewhat success, a sample of success to where they can convince Nolan
to stay.
Hey, first of all, you need to get rid of the management. You don't need to get rid of Nolan. You need to get rid of management. That's just my piece with that right there.
Oh, yeah, you do. I mean, I think Squirrel was saying earlier today, I mean, he could be the...
No, it's not management. Don't get rid of Bud Black. Get rid of the owner. Mm-hmm. Or no, it's not the owner. Who is... Hold on. I don't want to sound like a dummy.
Going dummy on the mic.
Going dummy on the mic. We'll get back to it.
We'll get back into that.
Get back to it. But what was, you said my over-under was under 30.
Yeah, so
mine was over 30. What was your over-under?
My over-under would be under 30. I'm gonna put him actually at about 20 wins. I'm gonna put him at 20 and 40 actually. So I really don't see us doing that good, and I really see with all the turmoil going in the background and all the stuff going on behind the scenes, it's gonna play a big role in the way we play, and I really think it's gonna take a turn for the worse. I mean, I don't want to be a glass is half empty kind of guy, but I'm really worried for the Rockies, and I'm really worried for the Rockies' future, honestly, especially with Aaron, with Arenado and stuff. But I want to get into a little bit more of a football topic, as the Redskins are still looking for a name and stuff, and they're looking for a couple different names with the Redskins not obviously being the name that they're going to pick anymore. They're looking at the Red Tails still and the Warriors still, and a couple other things, but they haven't really decided what they really want to fully go with. And honestly, I really like this Red Tails name, honestly. Honoring the World War II pilots. I can't believe where they were flying over, but honoring the World War II pilots of that time, that is awesome. Especially, it's the Capital, it's the Capitals team calling that. It seems like a perfect fit, honestly. What is your take on that? What would you call the Redskins?
Hey, before I get on my take, it was Jeff British.
Jeff
I was
British.
thinking of Jeff British, the executive. What was it? I think his role is management, but either way, get rid of him. He's been the main culprit of why Nolan Arenado's had such bad issues. But to get to your question about the Washington Redskins, what would I name them? Man, I'd have to name them with something that references this country for sure. With maybe being at Washington D.C., you see how they have the Washington Capitals. The Washington Wizards,
Washington Nationals.
The Washington Wizards. That's not really a patriotic name, but their colors consist of red, white, and blue.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you go to the Washington Red Tails, I mean, that has an American-based thing for it. I mean, that would be perfect. I could easily see in something like that. I mean, I just don't like that Warriors name, honestly. That really confused me, because the first thing that you're going to see on a lot of things for a lot of people that are beat reporters are going to be like Warriors beat reporter. It's like, well, are you the Golden State Warriors beat reporter, or are you the Washington Warriors? I just didn't like that.
Hey, shout out Nikki Jabala. She's
shout out Nikki Jabala for being a award.
She got to speaking in our class a month ago.
Yeah,
that's dope, man. And we get to lose a great writer, but Washington.
Now we just have Woody Page here now.
Shout out to that. But would you go with the Red Tails? Do you like that name? Because that seems like a front runner besides the Warriors.
I honestly love that name, honestly. And have you seen the logos for it, and as well as everything for it? It looks so cool. I mean, and I don't want to tie this into Madden, but I mean, I can't wait to play with those uniforms in Madden. Those are going to be so cool.
I knew you was going to do that. I knew you was going to do that. Hey, but speaking of Madden, you had some more ratings.
Yeah.
That came out for some players. It seems like day by day there's more ratings coming out.
Yeah, so we're not going to touch on this a lot, but yesterday we had a little bit of a segment on Madden, and we tried to talk about the Broncos players that were released, and we got Jerry Jeudy being a 75 and KJ Hamler being a 70 overall. Well, today Broncos Wire actually leaked the top 10 Madden players for the Broncos team, and it goes as followed. Number 1 is Von Miller at a 97. You have number 2, Justin Simmons at a 90. 3, Kareem Jackson at an 87. 4, Philip Lindsay at an 85. 5, Melvin Gordon at an 84. 6, A.J. Boya at an 85. 7, Jarrell Casey at an 84. And then 8, Cortland Sutton at an 84. And then 9, Bradley Chubb at 81. And then finally 10, Bryce Callahan at 80. So only thing that I really have to say about this is I don't know why Bryce Callahan's at the top 10. Bryce Callahan I don't really think is an 80 overall player. And another thing I want to say is Bradley Chubb should at least be an 84 too. I mean, there's no reason that Bradley Chubb should be this low. I mean, I understand that he had that injury last year, and that's going to take a toll on your rating. But
out of all the young players on the Broncos roster, who do you think could become a 95 plus or a 99? Now you have Vaughn there. Who is it? You said he was 92?
97.
97.
That's
wow.
They
really showing love to Vaughn. Wow. 97. I mean, shout out to Vaughn. I didn't think you played like a 97 this year.
Probably a 95, honestly.
Hopefully you get back to the level of play you were a couple years ago. But out of all the young players, the Philip Lindsays, the Cortland Sutton, Who do you see out of all those guys being a 95, 99?
Can I still put Bradley Chubb up there?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say Bradley Chubb, honestly. I mean, Bradley Chubb, he looked phenomenal in his rookie year, and then he looked phenomenal last year until he got hurt. I mean, I mean, there's no other debate. I mean, I want to put an offensive player there, but I really don't see any. I still have so many question marks on the Broncos offense. We were talking about it earlier on the press box about how much veteran leadership helps in an NFL locker room. But we are going to be getting back into some NBA talk when we get back from that commercial break. This is Sports with Staxxx and Shaggy.
Taking a trip over to Tibet, see the sights, climb a hill or two. But I remember, oh man, I got one guy out here who I actually know. So I give an old ringy-dingy to the Lama.
What?
The Dalai Lama, his laminescence, flowing robes, the grace, bald, striking really. I says to the Lama, hey, you remember that round I caddied for you down in Shangri-La? Well, apparently some station out in Lakewood taped the whole thing. See, the Lama's a big hitter. Nailed 2 eagles in a row that day. Well, he says, what station could have possibly gotten all the way out to my sacred holy lands, the Shangri? I says it was none other than GoMileHigh.com, Lama. They got the best sports coverage in the state. The Lama actually tips me this time, 2-1. So he pretty much stiffed me again. But I got him hooked on GoMileHigh.com. So I got that going for me, which is nice.
That's great.
GoMileHigh.com.
If you have ever dreamed about being on TV or the radio, listen up. Start your broadcasting career today at the Colorado Media School. You'll have the opportunity to work with and learn from actual on-air talent that work within the Colorado media. Within a few months, you'll know how to engineer, produce, and even host your own TV/radio show. I'm a current graduate, and let me tell you, the Colorado Media School has given me opportunities and internships that have helped me take my career to the next level. So apply today at the Colorado Media School, located at 404 South Uppan Street in Lakewood, or visit us at coloradomediaschool.org.
So I'm taking a trip over to Tibet, see the sights, climb a hill or two. But I remember, oh man, I got one guy out here who I actually know. So I give an old ringy-dingy to the Lama.
What?
The Dalai Lama, his laminescence, flowing robes, the grace, bald, striking really. I says to the Lama, hey, you remember that round I caddied for you down in Shangri-La? Well, apparently some station out in Lakewood taped the whole thing. See, the Lama's a big hitter. Nailed 2 eagles in a row that day. Well, he says, what station could have possibly gotten all the way out to my sacred holy lands, the Shangri? I says it was none other than GoMileHigh.com, Lama. They got the best sports coverage in the state. The Lama actually tips me this time, 2-1. So he pretty much stiffed me again, but I got him hooked on GoMileHigh.com. So I got that going for me, which is nice.
That's great.
GoMileHigh.com.
Hey Colorado sports fans, you're listening to GoMileHigh.com, a student-operated station live from the Colorado Media School studios here in Belmar, giving you a different perspective on all things current.
Stop torturing yourself, man. Live in the now.
So stay tuned to see what's coming up next on GoMileHigh.com, Colorado's sports lifestyle.
Showing.
And welcome back into Sports with Staxxx and Shaggy. We're at the last segment of the hour, and it always feels like this is the saddest segment. I don't want to see us, leave, but, you got to say goodbye, and we'll always be here tomorrow. But we're going to get into a little bit of NBA talk and the NBA bubble snitch line a little bit first, as in Rashad Holmes and Bruno Caboclo. I hope I didn't butcher his last name. I probably did, but they got caught breaking the NBA rules for going and getting Postmates with quotations around it, and they left a couple feet out of the boundary, and now they're back in quarantine for 9 days, and now they're going to be having to sit in that quarantine for the next 9 days till they get placed back into their team. And I mean, I only have really one question or like one thing to say is I don't think they're going to get Postmates, honestly. I mean, you have food that you're getting there. I honestly think they're doing something else.
It was a funny story. Kelly Oubre, who a forward for the Suns, he posted something on a Twitter, said something like, "Oh well, I heard that they're allowing you to get food delivery outside of the hotel," and then it was completely wrong. He got a lot of backlash, right? And then he deleted the tweet. Of course, anything you delete is still covered by the internet. And then
not only that, you got screenshots.
And then he put "my bad, LOL." So Rashawn Holmes was pretty much saying, "Well, I was going off what Kelly Oubre was saying. I thought you could go get food delivery," but you know, we brought this up earlier, guys getting, you know, in this quarantine period where they leave the boundary line and they have
the bubble line.
Then they have to be in a quarantine period. Right now is the time to do all that, because when you're in the middle of a season / tournament, it's gonna be very detrimental to your team, and you're gonna hurt your team a lot, depending on your role of the team. If you're not gonna be there because you decided to leave the bubble, now it sounds like a summer cap. It sounds childish to hold you to your boundaries, but this is what you agreed to. Now a lot of these guys could sit home, and not play, but they know what's at stake. They know the dollars and cents that are at stake, and if you want to make that money, you're gonna have to abide by those rules that the NBA has implemented with the bubble.
Yeah, and you were just saying, I mean, you know, it's almost a better time to do it right now. I mean, as an NBA player, it feels like if this was personally me, I would test the rules right now compared to in the season when the season resumes, because I want to see, all right, what am I going to get away with? What am I not going to get away with? Am I going to be able to do this, or am I not going to be able to do this? Because, I mean, during the season, you don't want to risk that. You don't want to risk, you know, getting, you know, quarantined for 9 days and then, you know, hurting your team just for something stupid like that. So doing it now is almost a perfect decision. I really, you know, like trying to see, like, you know, pushing your boundaries. I mean, trying to see what can we do out here and what can we cannot do out here.
So a day ago, Rashawn Holmes' mom tweeted out at him, "You only crossed the line for your mama's cooking, and I was not in Florida, sir." Hashtag LOL at Rich_Holmes.
And then
love you, baby.
Let's call another one. So this is actually Kevin Durant calling out his mom. Kevin Durant actually had a post on Twitter, and he named all the players that can't guard him or any of the people that can't guard him on Twitter, and he put his mom on the list. Like, why are you shaming your own mom like that? Come on, Kevin.
Wanda can't guard Kevin.
Wanda
Durant can't. That's her name, I believe, right?
Yeah, it's Wanda Durant.
Yeah, Wanda. I mean, she made Kevin, but she can't guard him. She can't guard him.
Shoot, you're gonna cross up your own, you know, mom? You're gonna cross up your own mom?
If it ain't gotta do what you gotta do, and it got to be done, man.
So you know how he did that to LeBron in Game 1 in 2017? I mean, is he gonna do that to his mom? You know, Wanda's gonna be on the floor, and you know he's gonna be walking right by, dunking on her.
Hey, man. Hey, you know what? I want to get back with the Rashawn Holmes thing is. So with Nikola Jokic being back, say you get into a scenario of where Nikola is found that he left the boundaries, or not just Nikola, a very key piece of the team, a Jamal Murray or a Will Barton. Do you still have the same hope and the same expectation of the team, or are you not? How would I put it? Are you not as disappointed as if they are undermanned, if they were to get eliminated? Like, oh, well, you should have stayed quarantined into the bubble. Now look at what you did to the team.
Well, I mean, we already have 4 players that aren't even down in Orlando yet. It's, you know, again, with Torrey Craig, Gary Harris, Monte Morris, and then as well as MPJ. You know, we already have players down there that aren't, you know, there. So
they'll be there soon.
They'll be there soon. But I mean, I could see it taking a huge toll, and I mean, honestly, it's kind of sad to say this, but I mean, as a fan, you almost want to pray that one of these players gets the, you know, virus that you're playing against, so that way you can get like an easy win. I mean, honestly,
man,
I mean,
come
on.
Say that. Hey, knock on wood, man. This virus is no joke, man. This is the Corona Championship, man.
It's the COVID Cup.
It's the COVID Cup. I was always saying that catching the virus, it helps in your advantage. For guys who have, I mean, obviously.
Except for that lady from Texas, she caught it twice.
No, I'm saying the guy in the NBA, guys who've caught it and came back. It's going to help in your advantage.
Well, yeah, it builds up your antibodies.
Well, now players are going to be intimidated by you because, like, whoa, I don't want to guard someone who's had Corona.
They're going to be intimidated. They're going to be like, keep me at least 6 feet away from Rudy Gobert, all right? I don't even want to be.
Well, I mean, Rudy Gobert doesn't have an ounce of offensive game in him, so you could stay like 10 feet away from him. He's not going to score the ball. It's all right.
Hey, I mean, you can still social distance Rudy Gobert.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, the most hated man in the NBA right now. It was Kevin Durant until he tore his Achilles, of course. Yeah. Now Rudy Gobert, the most hated man in the NBA.
Yeah, Rudy Gobert definitely.
The perfect example of ruined it for everybody. The perfect example, Rudy Gobert.
And then I like how Donovan Mitchell, like all those memes right after of like, it's like Donovan Mitchell looking at him in the locker room after he got it. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, that was just dumb. Because, like, well, you remember what he did? He touched, like, all the microphones at the press conference. He, like, made a mockery of the virus, which, I mean, it makes sense he did that because a lot of people were.
At the time.
But now, like, you see how serious it is and now how it can affect older folks.
Yeah, it kind of makes him kind of look kind of stupid, honestly.
It's just not a good look at all.
So, I mean, we were getting into it earlier. I want to bring it up now since we're talking about it. And, since we already have this stuff, I mean, if an NBA Finals winner or, if someone wins the COVID Cup this year, I mean, are they really going to have an asterisk on their, championship? So, like, 10, 15 years when we're looking down the line, I mean, are we really going to be?
It depends on, because there's something new developing every day and new players catching
So let's say no players get sick. I mean, this is a very rare hypothetical, obviously. So no players get sick. A player doesn't, we have all healthy players. All teams are healthy, and a team wins the championship. You still put an asterisk around it?
I think if you keep the majority of superstars to where it was competitive, like if you keep your LeBron Jameses, your Joel Embiid's,
Kawhi's,
if you keep
Giannis.
Those squads together that obviously are competitive or teams that are hard to beat and deserving to be in that position, then I wouldn't put as much of an asterisk. But if you got guys who are, on a team who were on the G League last year and they're competing in the conference finals, then you put an asterisk over it because, man, your team who won that squad wasn't the same team that you started with. It wouldn't even be the team that your coach would want to put out there if it wasn't for a pandemic.
Yeah, and I mean, for a Nuggets fan, and I was saying this earlier, I mean, I'll say this, I said this in the last segment, and then I was saying it in press box. I honestly don't believe that, I want the Nuggets to win or I want them to go far in this playoffs. I mean, with the scenario with them winning the NBA Finals in an October or September, time, and then having to go play within the next month, if that, it's just there's not enough rest and there's not enough time to get back into the, the groove of, I don't know. I would rather have a team that is ready for the next year when we can actually have a full NBA season rather than winning the COVID Cup, being able to argue with fans about how our team has an asterisk around their championship.
Hey, as the New York Jets fans say, there's always next year.
Yeah.
There's always next year. Hey, man.
But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think the Raiders could say that too. I think we could say that same thing about Raiders fans too. There's always next year. But that is gonna do it for us tonight. You can catch us at GoMileHigh.com on Facebook, or you can catch us at GoMileHigh.com on Twitter, or you can find us at Jake Shadler on Twitter or at Amato is Ballin'. This again is Sports with Staxxx and Shaggy.